Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick, Homeland Season 6, Episode 3, The Covenant. Ben Mankiewicz, Alonso Duralde. So yeah, Carrie screws up and then fixes it, which is a thing that happens on this show.
It does. I saw a poll from, I was looking at, because somebody sent a tweet about why you don't get me on Screen Junkies, right?
Oh, right, yeah.
Like that's your job.
I'm a guest.
Right, and then I looked at, I don't really know them. I haven't, you've told me about them, but I was looking at their Twitter feed, and it's totally amusing. But one of their polls was, who's the worst character on TV? Right, they did these quick polls, and one of their choices was Carrie Mathison.
Oh,
she only got 13% of the vote,
okay.
but nonetheless, it's good to have people talking about it.
She means well.
So, yeah, I mean, I get that she could be one of those characters who would be in a poll of who are the best characters on TV and who are the worst characters.
No, totally, yes, for sure.
So she solved it, and she solved it in a credible way. As always, it's television, happened a little quick. But,
right.
I thought when he blew up at her, the client,
yes,
that was a little quick. Like, hey, I got it. Your lawyer's about to take 7 years. So you were about to get 7 years. I was trying to get you none because you're innocent.
Right.
We think. So I get it. He's in a terrible position, but that felt like overly. That felt like too much drama. That felt like hyped up drama. Let's have her. Whereas, again, underplaying it, of having him be great. Now my lawyers aren't working for me. They're against me. I got nothing. Whatever. I'm leaving. Like, just, and then, like, we could have conveyed her desperation through his sadness or his sort of resignation to this awful fate of a system that's
as opposed to blowing up.
As opposed to blowing, like more Riz Ahmed than the dramatic moment that we got. But then Carrie figuring it out was good. I already can't remember how she figured it out, but I remember her confrontation.
She goes to the guy who checks the phone records, so she can get the call that the FBI guy made to the informant, pressuring him into.
She showed up at the guy's house with his kids, right?
Yes.
And then he did it.
Yes,
and then he did it anyway. But also, so this show is suggesting that, again, the notion when they go, no, we just have who you call, the times of the calls, that's it.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, right. Okay, that's a good one. Okay,
Yeah.
just give me. I'll need to hear the call.
Yeah, pull the other one.
I don't know whether that's true. I imagine that it is, but nonetheless, that was amusing. So we don't, he hasn't caved yet, but to suggest she had this knowing walk toward camera smile of someone who had won.
Right. Yeah. She does seem to have him by the short hair. Seems. We'll see.
Yeah, it depends on what the judge says, presumably, but hopefully she'll get him out. It would hard to believe that in episode 5 or whatever it's going to be next time, 4 maybe even.
4, yeah.
That he's going to get out, and then that kid's not going to be part of this.
No, obviously he's central to whatever this season's arc is going to be, but he doesn't necessarily have to be in jail to do it.
Right. So maybe it's going to turn out. Of course, it's Homeland, and maybe he is.
Yeah, he could be more involved, or he could be a pawn of somebody else or something. Yeah.
So the couple interesting things the most interesting thing that happened in this episode was Peter getting out of bed.
Yes.
Figuratively and literally, like what he put in the sock? Do we know? A brick. Yeah.
Oh, so, yeah.
Something. But that was a nice rally.
Yeah.
And that just the scene where he takes the gun and he's like, all right, so you stole 2,000 from me, so I guess we're good, right? We good? Okay, thanks. It's a pleasure to do business with you.
Bye-bye.
So a couple things happen there, because it's also significant he doesn't do any drugs, doesn't take any drugs.
Correct.
So
he's aware of the spy across the street.
Yeah, most importantly, he is aware of the spy. So his instincts are still there, and obviously there's going to be an important conversation coming with Carrie, and it would appear that Peter is going to be on board in some capacity for what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, for somebody who, for a lot of this season, could barely stand, he's not necessarily going to have his like crack ninja skills back, but he is at least basically, aware and alert and getting stuff done.
Yeah, so that's good. And then of course Saul, and I mean a very political show. A big sort of West Bank settler.
That was really that's material that most people don't want to touch. I was really impressed that they kind of went there and
very impressed.
And in a reasonably balanced way. Like they didn't present her as this sort of like screaming maniac, but at the same time, like her views on this specific situation and Saul's are diametrically opposed.
Yeah, what I like about it though is that, again, they've had this is a guy who's essentially has been the director of the CIA, a lifelong CIA employee, obviously, as we're seeing, literally a friend to Israel. He's literally working with the Mossad, although they may well be double-crossing him.
Right, and the show has always kind of presented Dar as being a lot more sort of unquestioningly pro-Israel, whereas Saul seems to still have.
Yes, but I think it's an important distinction because I don't want to fall in the trap where we decide that people who think that every settlement in the West Bank, that everyone in it, as I do, should get out, and that's the end of that.
Right. I'm saying there are degrees,
right, that those people aren't pro-Israel.
Israel, no,
right.
yeah, absolutely.
I couldn't, and like, so you can't, no one could argue that Saul Berenson is not pro-Israel.
No, totally,
He's determined to support Israel and make it.
That's that thing, like if you question Netanyahu, then suddenly you're anti-Semitic. It's like, wait, no, that's that's not how that works.
You're a little anti-Semitic. But, no, so right, so that I thought it was an important thing because there are many, former people who were sort of, I thought, former friends of the Young Turks and TYT, who, seem, to me, thoroughly mixed up on this issue. This is an issue about the best way forward. Saul said it. He goes, does it bother you that you are an impediment to peace?
Right.
Right. So, anyway, and so I thought it was a bold choice. We don't know what Saul's doing. He's picked up what appears to be by a Palestinian police
Uber driver?
No, it looked like a cop. I
think you're right. Yes.
But anyway, so he's going somewhere. He's going to meet someone. Obviously, it was just because he found the pack of cigarettes.
Yes.
Suggesting that maybe the guy, maybe the Iranian who may be working on the deal with the parallel program.
Did he go to North Korea or not? Yeah.
And is he who he says he is? I mean, is he even? It's just possible Saul doesn't know who this guy is. And that they're playing Saul because he smoked the same cigarettes, obviously, that
Oh, I didn't catch that.
So
okay.
that's what it is.
I was trying to figure out what that connection was. Okay, so why would an Iranian guy be smoking Israeli cigarettes?
Unless, so he's now, that's why he's made this trip, because he thinks, right, the guy was clearly lying, because why would Iran cover up buying things that they're allowed to buy under the agreement? Right. So obviously he's lying about that, but he saw that cigarette and then he flashed back. That guy put the cigarettes in his pocket, so that's the second pack of the cigarettes smoked by the Israeli Mossad henchman.
Right.
Okay. So something is
right.
but that's what sent him to the West Bank.
Gotcha.
So that's interesting. And then Dar just flat out spying on the president.
Yes.
Well, on the president-elect.
The president-elect.
But
yes.
I don't think he would suddenly stop.
No.
I don't think.
So now he knows that Carrie is talking to her, which he of course
he already knew. He has the photos.
True, but she had adamantly denied it to Saul. So at some point, like Dar is holding that as a way.
Right,
to,
we talked about that last time. That Dar is such a dick.
Yes.
Like he doesn't inform his friend or colleague information that might be necessary. Instead, he wants to spring it on him. So at that moment, he can manipulate Saul
get what he wants.
to do what he wants. Right. I mean, it's that's why I love the show, because it's so nicely layered in that regard. I know we have to go, but I want to talk about one thing very briefly. We have about 90 seconds. So our colleague now from the New York Daily News, Sean King, sent a tweet out during a Super Bowl saying that he doesn't watch 24 or Homeland because they do real harm to people. And I'm not trying to talk about Sean and not have him here. I'd love to talk to him about it. And I just wanted to say, because I think it's, obviously I think his heart is in the right place with that, that I feel like there's such a dramatic difference between those two shows. As somebody who watched a lot of 24 and got sickened by it and then tried and couldn't watch it again, and now completely agree on the sort of this pro-torture show Homeland, whereas a pro-torture show 24, whereas Homeland has been much more artful in dealing with a complicated issue.
Yes, I mean, I think if we're talking about strictly comparing the two shows, absolutely. Does Homeland, in a way, play into the notion of, like, for example, this whole thing with getting the phone call. Like, isn't it great that we have this, like, oppressive security state that's recording everything so that we could get the evidence that we needed in this one particular instance? You know, I think sometimes these shows kind of normalize that sort of thing. Like, anytime you have these shows where, oh, thank goodness we had these CCTV cameras everywhere and we were able to catch, you know, whatever criminal, it's like that makes a police state seem more
I guess
huggable.
it's my own way of thinking about it, because I see Homeland as to me that was like, God damn those guys! Look what they can do.
No,
like, simultaneously telling people they're lying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the show splits the middle. I mean, it's not totally, you know, cheerleading for this kind of thing, but I do sort of feel like sometimes when shows like this ultimately use that ill-gotten evidence for good reasons, that makes it easier for people to think, oh, well, you know, I mean, on the one hand, yeah, I believe in privacy, but, you know, but look at how they accomplished this great thing. So I guess it's necessary.
Sure, totally. It's complicated. It is. But that conversation between Saul and his sister, to me, is a conversation that I would like Americans to hear.
Absolutely. You never would have gotten that on 24.
And if you presume, so anyway, if Sean is out here, I'd love to. It'd be good to have a conversation.
Come
with
sit
him
with us and let's talk about this.
About this. Anyway, okay. Thanks for watching. The Homeland returns Sunday. I'm going out of town next week, but hopefully we'll find someone else who's watching this goddamn show.
We'll see. All right. Bye.